There's an old saying, cash is king. But somewhere along the way, the king got dethroned. We live in a world where your ability to borrow money matters more than the money you actually have, where a person with 10 credit cards and $0 in savings can have a better financial reputation than someone with a paid-off car and no debt. How did we get here? How did credit, this invisible number, become the gatekeeper for everything from apartments to cell phone plans? Let's talk about it. Credit wasn't created to make you rich. It was created to keep the system rich. The first versions of credit, as we know it, started gaining popularity in the mid-1900s with charge cards like Diners Club and American Express. Back then, it wasn't about points or perks. It was about convenience. But then, banks figured out something powerful. If they could get people hooked on borrowing, they could profit forever. That's the real engine behind credit, not wealth creation, wealth extraction. Today, your financial worth isn't measured by how much money you possess. It's measured by how well you borrow. A 750 credit score doesn't mean you're rich. It just means you're good at paying people back, on time, with interest, and the more interest you pay, the more they profit. Credit gives the illusion of power. Swipe your card, get what you want now, and worry about it later. It's seductive because it feels like freedom. But in reality, it's a cycle of controlled borrowing. You borrow money, you pay it back. You borrow more, you pay it back again. That's not financial freedom. That's financial obedience. Like Dave Ramsey says, the credit score is nothing but an I love debt score. It doesn't measure wealth. It measures your participation in the system. Ramsey's entire philosophy is simple. If you can't pay for it in cash, you can't afford it. And that's a tough pill to swallow, especially in a world where debt is normalized as smart leverage. Now, don't get me wrong, credit does come with perks. Good credit opens doors. You get better interest rates, bigger limits, and you can travel the world without carrying a briefcase full of cash. Then there's the reward system. Free flights, cash back, luxury lounges like the Chase Sapphire Lounge, where the coffee's free and the Wi-Fi actually works. All you had to do was spend thousands of dollars to earn your way in. It feels like you're winning, but in reality, the system is still winning. Because for every person getting a free vacation, there's someone else paying 25% interest on their card, keeping the machine alive. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's say you've built a business. You own assets. You've got enough money to buy a building, cash. But if your credit score isn't high enough, you can be denied an apartment rental by a property manager who couldn't afford that same building even if they worked for 100 years. That's the irony. The person who can buy the building can't rent the building because the system doesn't measure ownership. It measures obedience. How could that possibly make sense? We've built a world where the numbers matter more than the reality. A world where financial responsibility is rewarded less than financial participation. You can have zero debt and still be seen as unqualified. Because to the system, no debt means no data. And in a data-driven world, no data means no trust. But cash is simple. Cash doesn't need approval. It doesn't ask for a credit check. It doesn't care about your payment history. Cash just is. It's direct. It's final. It's freedom. When you pay with cash, there's no interest, no monthly statements, no algorithm deciding your worth. It's you, your money, and your decision. And while society might treat cash like it's old-fashioned, the people at the top still move with it quietly, because power isn't always loud. Sometimes power is the ability to say, no loan required. Ever notice how they want you in debt? Credit card companies sent pre-approvals to people who can't afford them. Car dealerships advertise zero down just to lock you into 5 years of payments. Colleges convince 18-year-olds to take out $100,000 loans before they even understand interest rates. It's all designed to keep you participating. Because if everyone went debt-free, the economy would panic. Consumer spending drives everything, and credit is the gas in that engine. That's why credit isn't going anywhere. It's too profitable. But just because the system needs debt doesn't mean you do. Now, this isn't an anti-credit rant. Credit can be useful if you control it, not the other way around. Some people use credit cards for rewards, pay them off every month, and never carry a balance. That's discipline. That's financial strategy. But most people, they're playing a game where the house always wins. The key is knowing when to step back and say, just because I can borrow it doesn't mean I should. Cash might not get you into the Chase Lounge, but it'll keep you out of the collection agency. At the end of the day, financial freedom doesn't come from a credit score. It comes from control. Control over your spending, control over your decisions, control over your time. Because debt isn't just money you owe. It's time you haven't lived yet. The real flex isn't an 800 credit score. It's the ability to walk into a room and not owe anyone a single dollar. The system might favor credit, but real life still favors cash. Cash doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't require permission. And in a world built on imaginary numbers, it remains the most real thing left. So yeah, credit might be convenient, but when it comes to freedom, cash will always be king.